Hi there, good morning. You've tuned into ET Now and this is Market Cafe with me, Shel D'Souza. Along with me, I have Snehi Shah joining me this morning. A very good morning to you, Snehi. No doubt the picture was pretty bleak when you talk about the Indian markets. But are there any positive cues that we can take forward from the US markets?
Well, Cheryl, not as much positive, rather mixed. Not a worry, not a point of concern, but rather mixed action coming in from global markets as well. Let me take you through what the US markets have done in overnight trading while we were fast asleep. Now, the US stocks futures, they inched higher on Wednesday night as traders looked ahead to another inflation reading. These moves come after the major stock indices ended Wednesday's session with mixed activity. Sharp decline in the tech sector, particularly as Nvidia dropped 1.1%, pulling the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq lower, with the two benchmarks slipping 0.2% and 0.5% respectively. Now, the 30 stock Dow, on the other hand, added just 0.1%. So the only positive index among all three yesterday was the Dow. And then after hours trading, the trading platform Robinhood popped 10% after the company reported a 16% increase in assets under custody in February from the month prior. Troubled electric vehicle startup Fisker tumbled 46% on an intraday basis after the Wall Street Journal reported that the company has hired restructuring advisors to prepare for a potential bankruptcy filing. Investors are watching out for February's producer price index due Thursday morning before the bell. The metric is a measurement of the wholesale inflation, and economists polled by the Dow Jones anticipate that a headline PPI grew by 0.3% in Feb, or just 0.2% higher when excluding food and energy prices. Remember, the PPI report is the last major piece of economic data to be released prior to the Fed Reserve's upcoming policy meeting, all set for the 19th and 20th of this month. Now, today investors will also be watching for the weekly jobless claims report and retail sales. Both data releases are due before the opening bell, before Wall Street opens. So, well, Cheryl, largely this is the handover coming in from the US. But when you take a look at European markets, right, let's see what's happening with Europe. And most European markets closed higher on Wednesday following a mixed trading session as investors digested the latest US inflation report and the UK gross domestic product figures as well. Now, investors on Wednesday were monitoring the UK economic data, which showed a return to moderate growth in January. Services output recorded a growth of 0.2%, and a bounce in construction output drove gains as well. When you look at individual indices, you had DAX not as flat as could be, but with a slight negative bias. FTSE up 0.3%, CAC up 0.6%, and the Pan-European Stock 600 index up 0.2% as well. So rather subdued, but Cheryl, nothing to worry about when it comes to at least the global handover that we've been seeing. But with that, take us through what's happening with oil. Lots of geopolitical factors have come to play again.
Absolutely, geopolitical factors continue to weigh actually on the financial market sentiment when it comes to oil, because oil is actually rallying in trade. If you see in the overnight trading session, you had the oil prices that saw a spike of approximately 3% or so. This took the crude oil prices to a 4-month high, and this is on back of surprise withdrawal in the US crude inventories. Also, apart from that, there was bigger than expected drop in US gasoline stocks and a potential supply disruptions after Ukrainian attacks on Russian refineries. So if you look at the way how Brent crude actually shut shop in yesterday's trade, that's overnight trading session, 2.6% higher. It was the highest level since November for the Brent crude. It surpassed the $84 to the barrel mark, while you had the NYMEX that settled around $79.72 per barrel mark. Particularly, let's talk about what happened in Russia. In Russia, the Ukraine actually struck oil refineries in a second day of heavy drone attacks, and that actually caused a fire in Rosneft refinery, biggest refinery. And you had Putin, who said that that was an attempt to disrupt his country's presidential elections that are due this week. So that is what's exactly happening in Russia, why there was a spike in the crude oil prices. While in overnight, you had Citi that has actually released a note saying that the ongoing price hikes in the crude oil prices is only going to be temporary, and that strength will only ease on when you go through the course of the year 2024. However, they're seeing a downside for Brent for the year 2025. They're expecting the Brent crude to actually slip to around $60 per barrel mark level. Snehi, I believe we haven't seen for a while for sure, isn't it?
Well, absolutely, Cheryl. So that's going to be one key metric to watch out for, and we'll see how this note pans out on the oil prices. But with that, let's also take a look at all the...
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.